Welcome to my tutorial on how to draw a realistic dog eye using colored pencils. So this is the sped up version. There is a full-length version available on my Patreon channel for video subscribers. So if you're interested in hearing commentary in real time as I'm drawing the eye, there is that footage available to you if you subscribe. So I'm starting out here with the basic sketch of the eye, and I do very loose sketches, and I tend to do a more thorough sketch layer using colored pencils rather than my initial pencil drawing. So this is what I'm working on now, is that initial sketch layer where I'm just putting down the basic shapes and colors using my colored pencils and some background color there with the ivory colored pencil. And this is just me getting a sense of where everything is going to be, whether it looks sort of proportionally correct or not. And as I go through the drawing, you'll see I work in stages, and this is sort of stage one is just the basic outline, and then I start moving on to adding more depth and detail. So as you can see, I'm outlining the darkest parts of the eye first to sort of work on building up the shape of the eye. And then I'm using a very light pencil here, that's my warm gray 2, and I'm outlining the reflections within the eye. And so that just gives me, because with colored pencil it's harder to draw light colors on top of dark, I like to sort of block out the light parts first so I don't accidentally cover them up with pigment that I later will have trouble removing or covering up again. And then I'm using a variety of different browns to put the actual color of the eye in. And again, you'll notice although I'm being a little bit darker here, it's still quite light because I'm just blocking in those shapes, and as I progress through the layers you can see it darkening and darkening as I can kind of look at the drawing and say, yeah, that's in the right place. And then you'll notice me using some blue and some other colors in the reflections. It's really important to remember that just because a dog's eye in total is brown, it doesn't mean that's going to be the only color you use. There's going to be, especially with dogs in outdoor settings, there's often blues in there because of the reflection of the sky. There might be greens from grass or plants, and any other colors might also be reflected there. So don't forget to use those. So now I'm going through the second stage in the rest of the drawing, and there's some more blues and there's some maroon in there too, in the lower eyelid to bring out those, sort of make it appear to have more depth with the variety of colors I'm using. So I'm now going through the second stage, which is my sort of deepening of colors and really getting the values down. And this is where I want to have my pencils nice and sharp, and I try and cover up as much of the white in the tooth of the paper as I can. So I use a technique called burnishing, which means I use a light value. In this case, for most of this drawing, it's the ivory pencil, Faber-Castell ivory. And I press quite hard with that and sort of create a base layer from which I can then do what I'm doing now, which is layer. So I really like burnishing because I don't enjoy seeing any of the tooth of the paper showing through. And it's just my preferred style of working. There are certainly other ways of working with colored pencils, but you can see as I go through chunk by chunk of the drawing, I do burnish and then layer on top. One of the important things when working in stages like this is that your first layer is going to look pretty rough, and it might look pretty bad too. So you might take a look at it and go, wow, this drawing does not look like what I wanted it to. It's going to turn out terribly, and maybe there's not even much of a point in continuing. And that's something every artist goes through. It is known as the ugly stage, and every drawing goes through it at some point. So the important thing is to remember that, pushing through, finishing the drawing usually ends much better than you think. You are certainly your own worst critic, and there's very rarely been a time where I've started to give up on a drawing and then thought, you know what, I'll just finish it and see how it turns out, and I've been disappointed. Mostly I end up finishing it and sort of thinking, wow, that turned out better than expected. So as you can see through this video, as I'm progressing through the stages, although the drawing really didn't look like much to begin with, it's now starting to take form and look much more like that realistic dog eye that I wanted it to. So I kind of got the basic, we've done the basic shapes, and now I've deepened the colors, and for the last layer I adjust any colors that I need to by either darkening or lightening, and I add in any final details. So for this drawing I was working from a lightened picture of her eye to make sure I got all the details finished, and then when I got to this stage I was able to come and darken all the parts of the eye and the fur, because that is more accurate to her actual fur color. So you'll see me going over and darkening everything. And particularly with black, I don't tend to use black a whole lot on my drawings until the very last stage, because there's a darker pencil there, but you'll see me use a fair bit of black near the end. And the reason for that is, for the most part, black in pictures might appear black to us, but there's a lot of different colors that are involved in that black. So if you layer colors beneath the black first, those will come through the drawing and add more depth and reality to your portrait. So we're just coming up to the end of the tutorial here and putting in the final details and touches. Thank you for watching, and I hope you learned a little bit about drawing eyes and dog eyes in particular. If you'd like to see this in more detail and a bit slower, visit my Patreon. I also have other videos on there for subscribers, so stop on by, and thanks again for watching.